I'm sitting on the ground when I hear Lee's footsteps. His eyes drop to my which is now throbbing. Does it hurt? He asks, biting his lip. Yes, I whisper. His eyes soft. He reaches down to me. I inhale sharply when he touches the tender skin. Easy, he says. I've got you now. Woo! All right.
All right.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Bim.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Listen, I can't complain. I mean, I could complain.
Right.
But I don't think anyone would listen.
No, what's the point? Shit.
But I am excited because today's thirst object is someone who I have fancied from afar. Even when I couldn't explain why I fancied him,
Right, yeah.
I just felt it in my shondo.
Yeah.
Also known
same.
as like the deepest part of my chest.
Yeah, I have enjoyed looking at him for a very long time. And his work. I like his work, of course.
I'm glad to hear it. Also, he does a job, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Yes, he does do a very good job in many things.
Yes, and we're talking about Lee Pace.
Lee motherfucking Pace.
Yeah, we've had him on our list for quite a while.
Since season 1.
Yeah, and we keep shuffling him about, and we're finally talking about him.
Yeah, we are.
Because he is so cute.
He is, but he's also handsome.
Yeah.
Like, he's cute, but he's also one of those guys who really grew into his face, his body, his move. Like, he grows more graceful with age.
Yeah, he's a tall drink of water.
He is that. Bottomless drink of water.
Yeah.
It's a lot. He's very potent. There's something about him. I always feel mesmerized. I feel like in the olden days, he would have been a great charismatic leader of some kind. He has those eyes that you just want to take a dip in.
He reminds me a little bit of Gregory Peck.
Yes,
like
hard,
old
yes.
school charm,
Yes.
brows,
Yes.
all of that.
I'm actually in your sentence right now saying yes. Yes. That's exactly who he reminds me of. And I have great affection for Gregory Peck, specifically his eyebrows, which you may remember from our Golden Bays of Hollywood episode.
Yeah.
I am a huge Gregory Peck fan. His whole aesthetic, and Lee Pace to me seems to be a very modern adaptation of a Gregory Peck story. I could look at him walk and kind of just throw his shoulders around for like a solid 4 hours.
Oh my God. And the thing is, like, if you know who Lee Pace is, then you're here with us.
Right.
And there's some people who don't know who Lee Pace is. That's because, I wouldn't say he flies under the radar.
He kind of does though.
He's not quite as shiny, I guess, as
Right.
some other stars.
And this is despite being in what will be 2 Marvel films very shortly, because of course he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, dressed up in amazing blue paint. Because I'm telling you, it takes a very special white man to look good in blue. Like, because normally I'm like, what the devil is this?
Yeah.
But no, instead, Lee Pace is like, blue, bitch, I'll wear it.
Yeah.
And he looked just powerful and angry and just, I just wanted to do things. God bless him.
Bam.
I'm sorry, I just feel very strongly about Lee Pace. I think he is, I just want to eat his face. Sorry, did I say that out loud? My apologies. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's what we're here for. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Lee Pace and all of his sturdy yet delicate beauty.
Sturdy yet delicate. That's exactly. Oh my God, we've got a title for an episode right there. Sturdy but delicate. The Adventures of Lee Pace.
There it is. Let's take it back to season 1, Thursday Kid. When did you first come across Lee Pace?
All I remember, Nicole, is clouds. And I looked out the window. And no, of course not. Lee Pace only feels like a magical fucking being. He is actually an actor. So I think the first time I got very familiar with him, lol, was back in 2004 on a very short-lived TV show. I'm taking it old school. It was called Wonderfalls.
Ah, yes. I remember that show. I didn't watch it at the time, but I remember it. I remember it.
Yeah, and he was I suppose a minor character in the grand scheme. He played a guy called Aaron Tyler, which I'm sorry is perfect because he looks like an Aaron Tyler. Like, ugh. And in that, he's kind of dorky looking, so he has like a lot of hair in his face. And what I was saying before about someone growing into their face and their body, I think he was he was leaning into it, but he wasn't. He was still a bit gangly and a bit. And he's supposed to be a slightly kind of awkward white man, which is perfect because that's exactly what he is in this show. But that was the first time I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, who the fuck is that tall guy?" Because, like you said, he's a very tall drink of refreshing water. And even then, I was parched. Shout out to 2004 Bim, who was consistently parched. But anyway, I saw him there for the first time. But then I know he blew up by the standards of blow up for Lee Pace.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, when he was on a TV show called Pushing Daisies.
Yes, that's where I saw him.
Let's talk about that then, Nicole.
I love Pushing Daisies to the point, when people are like, what show needs to be rebooted, blah, blah, blah. That's the only show that I'm thinking needs to be rebooted. And not rebooted, but we need a proper ending for it because it had 2 seasons and the ending was kind of rushed and I was a little upset, but it's such a beautiful story, beautiful and weird, right?
Yes.
So Lee Pace played Ned the Pie Maker.
Yeah.
And he had this ability to touch people and bring them back to life.
Yeah.
But if he touched them again, they would die for good.
Yep. Hard same. I'm just remembering the feeling the Pushing Daisies put into my heart, and I'm caught up in the rapture of you. But go on.
Yes, because it's a dark comedy, but also very bright and colorful, and
it's a fantasy mystery, light but dark.
Yeah,
surrealist, but also very down to earth. It was like oddly gritty, but also very, very soft and beautiful.
Yeah, and it always left you with this like. Kind of like what The Good Place is right now. You're looking at something that has this kind of darker theme to it, about dealing with life and death and what happens after death. But also it makes you feel good about what you're going through right now.
There was something about that show. It was kind of mesmerizing to watch. You couldn't look away.
Yeah. And so Ned the Pie Maker, Lee Pace, he was in love with this woman named Chuck who had died and he had touched her. So she had been, brought back to life.
Right.
But then he could not touch her again.
Right.
So they were trying to figure out how do you express your love when you can't touch?
Oh, my God. What a premise.
Oh, my goodness. It was so sweet and so sad, but it was great. And then Chi McBride was one of the supporting actors on the show. And he was so hilarious.
He was great. He played like this hard-boiled private investigator guy.
Yeah. Chi McBride's character's name was Emerson Codd.
A great name.
Great name. So Ned and Emerson joined forces and would help solve crimes, right?
Right.
Just fantastic. And then, of course, there's Kristen Chenoweth, who played Olivia, a waitress who was in love with Ned.
Yeah.
So she would have these musical numbers. It was just, you got to find the show if you haven't watched it.
It felt like the perfect marriage of using everyone's best tools. So Kristen Chenoweth, of course, would come in and do a number. Anna Frill was just like this beautiful, precious fucking fairy. Ned, who is Lee Pace, was like this incredibly hot, tender, so smart, and he pines like a motherfucker.
So, his eyes.
Oh my God, they're so sad.
We've talked about the importance of eye acting on this show, and Lee Pace has that in spades. I mean, oh my gosh.
My name is Ned. I live a simple life. I wake pies and make the dead. That was creepy. I make pies and wake the dead.
Another movie that he did, The Fall.
Yes.
2006.
Beautiful film.
Another fantasy film. He's playing 2 different characters, and at some point, one of the characters has eye makeup or he's got coal around
it's
his
so dramatic and beautiful.
He looks amazing.
He does. Lee Pace is uncomplicatedly beautiful. Like there's just what it is the symmetry, because that comes through regardless of whatever he's doing with his face. I think you can change a lot of stuff. You can put makeup on, you can change your hairstyle, you can do whatever. But the thing about Lee Pace's face is, to begin with, it is a perfectly symmetrical face. So it's pleasing from whatever angle you're looking at, whatever he's piled on or taken off, which is why he works so well when he's playing Kree and he's wearing blue body paint with like. And it's kind of like, how does this work? And it works because the canvas on which you are painting is almost perfect in terms of just symmetry.
Yeah.
He's so beautiful in The Fall. And, you know, I think the director, Tarsem, is someone who does these bold, big visuals anyway. And you have these amazing backdrops, and then you place Lee Pace in the foreground of these backdrops, and suddenly it becomes like a fucking symphony of just the perfect marriage between, you know, the actor and the set. It's beautiful.
There's this moment in The Fall where Lee's character, Roy, is talking to a little girl. They're in the hospital recovering after some procedures. And there is kind of this menace to Roy in this moment. And you don't know what he's about to do. And I remember I literally moved to the edge of the couch trying to figure out what's about to happen.
Just to catch it.
Yes, because... And not in a good way, like because again, like I said, it was a menace to it. I did not know if he was going to hurt this child, but Lee played it in such a way that you were like, "How do I move into this film to stop him, whatever it is that he's about to do?"
Yeah,
because he was so. His eyes, the set of his jaw.
Yes, he has a great jaw.
The body language, like he is a full body actor.
Yes, he is. He pulls you in with it.
Yes.
It's like a tractor beam. Like you're caught in it, and then you're just kind of staring. Like you said, you feel the urge to move closer and kind of like stop or enhance or something. But I want to be involved.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he just makes you want to be like, and then what? He's the kind of person who tells a story and you get carried away and you're like, and then what happened? Like he's just, you know, he has that power. I want to go back to, I mentioned it at the top of this, Wonderfalls. I want to talk about something else about Lee Pace, which is not often brought up because he's so beautiful, but his voice.
Oh, yeah.
It's so deep.
He's got a really nice voice.
His voice is so, the timbre of it is just, again, I want to climb inside it and take a very long nap. You feel the bass of his voice in your chest.
Yeah.
So whenever I have the volume way up and I'm watching something that he's in, I get like tingles because it feels like ASMR.
Yeah.
I'm going to just play a little clip from Wonderfalls. And to set it up, he's basically at home with his little sister's best friend, who's played by Tracy Thoms. God, I love Tracy Thoms. Please come back and do something amazing, Tracy, on TV. But she's basically kind of like lamenting the fact that in their little town, she's not really getting a lot of attention, you know, like her best friend, aka Lee's little sister, gets. And Lee is obviously someone who, as the show goes on, we find out he's had like feelings for Tracy's character and has just been unable to say something. But this is basically his in. And I want you to, this is the first time he attempts, I think, to tell her that he might have feelings for her. So just let's play something.
You know, that exchange student from Prague still emails me about her.
She's like a bug zapper. As long as I've known her, guys have been throwing themselves at her. I don't know, maybe if she was more like some of us less magnetic types, she wouldn't be so quick to throw them back.
I think you're magnetic.
Bitch.
Did a little head tilt.
Yeah, well, for all my innate magnetism, I haven't really been attracting a lot of the brothers in the greater Niagara region lately.
I'm somebody's brother.
Listen.
So white.
It's so white. And yet.
And the thing about Lee's character in this show, his hair looks like it's in between styles.
Yes.
So it's not very flattering.
It's not hot.
And then he's got some, sideburns happening, some
it's
70s.
like the 70s, but very bad.
But he's got this smirk on his face. Like he's looking at her like, look, are you seeing me? Because I'm seeing you.
Listen. There's another scene where Lee's character comes to the bar where Tracy's character works. And, they've just been intimate for the first time. And, they're just kind of dealing with that kind of initial awkwardness. I just want to throw something out here. And perhaps it's less audio. Maybe it's more visual. But I'll do some audio description as we go.
Did you really want something?
Just this.
Not
Just trying to kiss her.
Fine. So I have to buy anniversary presents for my parents. Mom told me what Sharon's getting Dad, so I've got to get him the more expensive one. Hey, do me a favor. Come with me to the dinner.
Your parents' anniversary dinner?
I need you to take a picture of Sharon when Dad opens my present first. I'd do it myself, but that seems petty. But that's not the only reason. Because I just want you to be my date in whatever capacity you're comfortable with.
Nobody's going to be comfortable with me being your date in any capacity.
What are you talking about? My parents love you. You've had a stocking on our fireplace every Christmas since I was 10.
You don't understand how your mother feels about the women you date. She loathes them.
But she doesn't loathe you.
She will. She'll see this as a betrayal. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. I've infiltrated her flock, and now I'm about to eat her delicious baby lamb. Answer's no.
But you just said I'm delicious. How could you say no to delicious?
Listen, he says that while he's putting on a stupid, like, paperboy cap and a red scarf. And I'm just like, this should be wholly unattractive. And yet, which feels like the Lee Pace story.
Right.
And yet. Because it's just very, very processed. So I love Wonderfalls. You know, you mentioned Pushing Daisies being one of your Bring It Back. I know it's way too late now and he's in Captain Marvel and all these other things. But in my heart, I'm just like, bring back Wonderfalls. I'm just ready for very sweet, swoonsome, you know, very gentle TV show. I crave it. And Wonderfalls was certainly that. So Lee Pace, for me, his voice is just so, it's like oddly shy. And like in that clip in particular where he's kind of like, my parents love you and I just want you to come as my date in any capacity. And I'm just like, okay, let me just throw my bra at you real quick. We should talk a little bit more about his more recent stuff. So he has kind of carved out a bit of a niche for himself in like big budget stuff. We mentioned Marvel before. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy and he's going to be in the upcoming film Captain Marvel. There was a great little teaser video on his Instagram. Do you remember that?
Yeah, where he's walking. I don't know where he's walking.
Somewhere
but
outside.
He's shirtless.
Yes.
And whoever is the camera person is filming his wide back, which has a lot of moles on it. And I love moles.
Yes, you do.
Oh my God. Like some people like freckles. I'm here for the moles.
Shout out to you, man.
So his wide back is there and he's got the little cap on, the little cheesy Marvel, Captain Marvel cap on.
Yep.
And then I don't know, it's some kind of stadium or
some
like
kind of big venue type thing.
Yeah, like a ancient Greek something.
Yeah, like an amphitheater, something like that.
Yeah, something. And he just kind of looks back at the camera person and smiles.
It's so coy, that smile. I was like, what is this?
Right.
I felt very much truly. I think after you sent it to me, I think I genuinely said, what is the meaning of all this? Just who are you trying to, what?
Yeah.
But it's the back. He's so broad.
He was tan. He looked healthy.
He looked healthy.
Good.
He looked happy. He looked blessed and fed. And I'm just whoever is feeding him, shout out to you. You're doing a great job, sweetie.
Shout out. Whoever is your caretaker.
Listen, amen. But he's also he did like a big TV show that was an AMC called Halt and Catch Fire, where he played this horrible, kind of an anti-hero. He's very hot, which is the classically paced. It's like, oh, he's terrible, but also he's very hot. I've been on YouTube. There are a few compilation videos of all his various love scenes.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. See, I haven't watched the show yet because it's just too much TV right now.
That's fair.
I mean,
that's fair. And you have to catch up, and it's finished, and it's all that stuff. So yeah, put it on your list. But I watched the first season, and I was completely enthralled. It also has another very hot person, Mackenzie Davis, who is just powerful in her hotness. But anyway, he's very good in that. He plays kind of like fire and brimstone and very angry. And he's the kind of person who, if you were to read about his kiss in a romance novel, it would be a punishing kiss.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very good. It's that kind of, exactly, correct. That's exactly the feeling. Literally every time he kissed someone on that show, I was like, oh, hello. As though it was brand new. I would literally, my eyes would just go a little bit bigger and I'd be like, oh, okay, let me put the volume up so I can hear all the Foley sounds of the smacking because I'm a perv. But anyway.
Maybe we should call it a night.
Yeah, we should call it a night.
He also did, of course, The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit, that was it. So he was in that whole Lord of the Rings franchise and he was playing a very ancient, beautiful elf king, which I'm sorry, that is Lee Pace. So that's not playing a new character. That is who he is. He is an eternal elf king.
Yeah, and see, I don't watch any of those,
right?
But I almost watched for
this one time. I almost watched.
I almost watched Lord of the Rings for Orlando Bloom.
Yes, back in the day.
Yes,
and a lot has changed.
But Lee Pace's character is whatever Legolas.
He's an elf. Legolas.
Legolas. Yes, all of that.
All of that.
They're the same.
They're the
people.
same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the same people, but
they're the same kind of person.
Elf.
Yes, they are elves. Yes.
Yes. And so the blonde with
the wig.
Yeah.
With the pointy ears.
Yeah, it should not work.
It shouldn't. It should not.
It should not work.
You know
and
why
I've
it works?
Seen, because it's Lee Pace.
Correct.
I've seen the GIFs of him being ridiculous or something.
Yeah. He's a very ridiculous character.
Yeah. I love him just in the GIFs, but it's still not enough to make me watch the film.
Do you know what? I've only seen some of the film because, like you, I am up to The Lord of the Rings for the longest time were my favorite books. I read them at a very impressionable age. Shout out to Aragorn, who in many ways kickstarted my journey into womanhood. But I didn't really watch The Hobbit. I wasn't necessarily involved in all of that, like I was with the Lord of the Rings films, the initial trilogy. But I've seen a number of GIFs, and I've seen it, in the course of watching the movie. There's a couple of scenes where he very dramatically throws down his garments.
Oh
and
my
he's not naked, I have to stress this, but he kind of takes off his I know, that's disappointing to you. I know. You're like, no. But he's standing there and he has like this, like you said, the ridiculous long blonde wig and the pointy ears, and he's fiercely beautiful. He looks like the kind of elf that is evil,
Yeah.
And he throws down his cape that he's wearing and he tosses it to the floor, and I'm like, look at this fucking drama queen. Yes. Like, just watching it, I was like, yes, throw me down like that cape. Like, it was just like, it's just and it shouldn't work, but like you said, but Lee Pace makes it work. He's so beautiful that he makes a ridiculous fucking waist length flaxen wig,
right,
and pointy ears. He makes that shit work. He's just that good.
Lee has tried to keep his private life private as much as he can.
Yeah.
And I respect that. And I think sometimes people feel like in order to connect to a celebrity or someone of note that they need to know all about their business. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we don't necessarily need to know all of that, Yeah. And I think that he tried for the longest to keep his life separate, the public persona and who he really is. While he was on stage at Angels in America, some of his personal life was exposed and he talked about that. And I just feel like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. And I think for many people were like very pressed about the way in which apparently he had come out. Because he gave an interview to W Magazine, of course, and he said at the time, I've dated men and I've dated women. I don't know why anyone would care. I'm an actor and I play roles. And he said to the interviewer, to be honest, I don't know what to say. I find your question intrusive. Later on, he said, listen, the question caught me off guard, and he went to Twitter and he explained himself a little bit. He said, in this recent interview, I was asked a question I wasn't expecting and I was at a loss for words, but, my privacy is important to me. And, I try to keep the focus on my work at all times. And I think for many people who are in the queer community, of course, it's important because representation matters.
Right.
And you want to be able to kind of point out, examples of people living great, amazing, wonderful, full, the full complement of feelings and abilities. You want to see that. And I think it's important for many people. This is like a very old argument about should you declare, should you not declare, etc. Right. And, I'm not a queer person. I cannot kind of come here and have an opinion that is kind of rooted in my own identity.
Right.
So I'm kind of like wary of kind of telling people how to feel about that.
Right.
But he did an interview thereafter with the New York Times, and he was asked again, and he mentioned growing up in Texas, and he was like, when you grow up queer, you get tough and perceptive, and you learn how to field it. And when someone comes at you that you don't know, interested in that area of your life, it's not always a good thing. I certainly knew that when I was a kid. And he said, after moving from Texas to New York, he had to deal with people interrogating him about his sexuality. And he basically just said, listen, the W interview, that whole thing turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Essentially it allowed me to participate, in the LGBTQ community in a way that, he hadn't before. And this is, I thought, a very kind of, this was, I thought was a very good, a good way to kind of say something and actually say something with your chest. And he said, once you say those words and the sky doesn't fall down or the earth doesn't open up, a lightning bolt doesn't zap you, you really can be anything. And then he said, it feels nicer than I ever thought it would be. And the headline to the piece in the New York Times was something pretty special. It said, Lee Pace came out 7 times a week. Then he came out for real. Which is,
goodness.
It feels hella straight. And I'm embarrassed for my kind. But I also thought, you know what? Good on Lee for walking back something that sounded a little bit off and then reiterating it in, I suppose, better language. Ultimately, we're not here to police anybody's sexuality. I feel, so it has to be one of those things that a person does and says and with your whole chest, and God bless him, he did.
Yeah, and, I brought it up because for a long time, people in Hollywood, they don't want you to know their sexuality or if they're married or if they're attached to someone because they think that it will lessen their appeal to the wider audience.
Yeah, you never want to limit yourself.
But I think, obviously it shouldn't matter. But I mean, like, if you're going to appeal to somebody, you're going to appeal regardless of what you're doing behind the camera, away from the camera, rather. You're going to appeal to somebody if you're married, engaged, whatever. If your work is solid, if you're cute as a button, like Lee Pace is, you're going to have admirers regardless, and I don't think his appeal has lessened.
Of course it hasn't. It's such a reductive argument that if we know he was kissing him, like, no, it doesn't matter. And, listen, he's about to be in Captain Marvel. Like, his life is okay. Like, work-wise, at least. He's doing A-okay. And like we said, he was in Angels in America. That's the kind of prestige fucking theater that you want to, So, listen, Lee is just fine.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good, love. Enjoy.
And we love him regardless
do.
of what he's doing, as long as, hopefully he's never going to say anything.
That's it. That's the prayer.
Be an asshole.
I add that to my prayers every night. All right. Thank you, God, for taking care of my friends and family and myself. Also, let a man not be trashed tomorrow. Amen. So Lee Pace is my current. He's on my current prayer circle. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it good and golden.
Yeah.
But yeah, God bless Lee Pace. From the top of his tall, perfect frame to the soles of his probably large feet.
You really have to respect somebody who's able to keep their private life private as long as they can.
And Lee, man, he tried.
He tried his best. He tried his best. But we love him wherever he is.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, Lee.
Whatever you're doing.
If you could post more film of you shirtless and tanned.
That's up to you, Lee, but do it.
With
do it
all
for
your
Nicole.
moles showing.
Oh, your moles, your muscles, that little smirk. He does a great smirk.
Oh, my gosh.
He has such a wonderful, his whole everything is just so pleasing.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to add this in. I wanted to talk about one of my favorite Lee Pace performances, which is not one that gets it doesn't get a lot of talk because it was a very small guest role. But he plays a guy who was Mindy Kaling's...
oh, yeah.
Mindy's first at college. And he is like this kind of a nerd. And he's made a lot of money in the tech world since he and Mindy had hooked up. And he comes back into Mindy's life. And it is amazing. It's a wonderful episode of just silliness. It's just everything that was good about the Mindy Project. You can find an example of in that episode. But he says some things in that episode that are just so funny. And Mindy herself has a great little anecdote of working with him and how she was just moved to kiss Lee Pace, which I have to be honest, I fully get. So here she is on Conan talking about her kiss with Lee Pace on her show, The Mindy Project.
Having a show named after you can lead to evil behavior.
I think the temptation is there.
The temptation.
And I have succumbed to that temptation. We've had a lot of handsome actors on the show. Mm-hmm. And I am a professional.
Sure.
I can be around handsome guys and I can behave like a lady.
Thanks for including us with your hand on handsome guys.
And, but we had this one actor on the show named Lee Pace, who's very. Do
you think you brought a picture? There he is. That's a good look. That's a very good looking guy. Yeah. Yuck. Nice try, Andy.
And a real gentleman. He came on the show and we had to do this flashback sequence where we were in bed together in college. Mm-hmm. And we're just supposed to be having a conversation, but he's so tall and he's so handsome that in the middle of it, she was just supposed to be like, "What do you think, Mindy?" And I was like, and I looked around and I improvised just kissing him in the scene, which was not in the script.
It's not that, see, You just went for it. You just started kissing that guy, that picture. Yeah.
He was looming above me.
Yeah.
And he asked me a question. I was not listening to him at all, because who cares what he was saying? And I was just like, And then he reacted like that, and I pretended it didn't happen. And then I walked backstage. We have 2 writer-producers, Ike Barinholtz and David Zassin, and they were like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?"
And that is exactly what I would do if I were in a situation with Lee Pace, and if like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I just kissed your chin. I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. But I love it because Mindy's face as she describes Lee's being taken aback is just like, seriously, it's like, huh? And I just feel, apparently it was all fine. I mean, I don't think she'd be telling the anecdote if it wasn't fine.
Right.
But I just love this idea of kind of like, you know what this scene needs? It needs a kiss. I'm just gonna throw this in. And it worked out because Lee Pace is a beautiful professional, and so is Mindy. And that's just my little moment of, yeah, that's what I would do also as well. But, you know, sadly, the opportunity has not presented itself. But Lee Pace, if you're listening, you should come on Thursday, Kid. We should talk about, you know, your face and your height and the general breadth of your shoulders.
I just looked it up, and he is 6'5", which is very tall in general, but also very tall for Hollywood.
Yes, very tall.
Because most
Sorry,
of our...
I'm yelling because I'm so excited by how tall he is. Very tall, very tall.
Most of our leading men are, you know, I'm going to be generous and say 5'9" to 6 feet.
God bless them, everyone.
Then you have some outliers like Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston. They're like 6'2".
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
And then there's Lee Pace.
And then there's Lee Pace. He is, he's everything. He's, he really is. And he's like that very old school mix of broad and tall and beautiful on top of it. He's very old fashioned.
Yeah,
looking.
but again, that like naive boy next door.
Yes.
Easy to talk to kind of charm.
Yes.
And then you get to know him, and he's very devilish.
Yes, he has a smile that I think, like I said, he switches between this incredibly sweet, open, you know, young man, hey, smile, into something like, what the hell do you have in your house? Like, what are you going to introduce me to later on this evening? Like, I'm scared, but also I want to know.
Yeah.
And he has that. It's like you said, there's like it's not quite malevolence, but there is like an edge of menace to him that I find. I mean, listen, we've said this before. I enjoy a stern man. And in watching *Halt and Catch Fire*, I was like, rah, that's it, you know, that's the one right there. That one. I felt like I was at a fair. That one in the window. Yeah, that one. And my creepy witch voice. Yeah, that one. Give me that one.
So he has a range of characters, and when he's playing someone who is not necessarily likable, you don't get all the drama of him, you know, going method and being awful to his co-stars or anything like that, where he's not, from what I know, you know, I don't know all the whatever.
Who knows?
Right. But it doesn't, you know, I haven't heard any stories of him being awful to people and being mean and terrible and, you know, whatever, being a dick just to, you know, just because your character is awful doesn't mean you have to treat your co-stars in the same way.
Lee seems to be about his work.
Yeah.
He comes in, he does his job.
Yeah.
He embodies the character that you need him to. I think he has like a really great gift for finding the nuance in characters and giving you so many shades within, you know, one character, and they get to be multiple things when they are being played by Lee Pace. And I think his gift is that he's able to do that seemingly without ever selling the audience short. Like he is not, he feels, his performances all feel very sincere, and that's regardless of genre. So he's playing in this high fantasy, like, you know, The Fall, and then you move him into another kind of weird kind of fantasy sequence in Pushing Daisies. You put him into like a sweet little kind of sitcom. He's doing that. You put him playing this over the top, you know, fucking Marvel villain, and he does it. He has a gift for comedy. He can do drama.
Yeah, one of my favorite films that he was in is Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day from 2008, starring Frances McDormand and Amy Adams.
Yep.
And it's so, again, he's, you know, this kind of sweet guy, but also he's, you know, he gets a little frustrated. He's playing a piano player and he's frustrated about his life. And
aren't we all, Lee?
And so, you know, he's got a little heat to him in certain scenes in there. But if you haven't seen that film, go look for it. Nice little rom-com. Yeah, go
and
check
he's good
that
at
out.
that. Let's put Lee Pace in more rom-coms. Like, I'm always very hesitant to kind of, extol the virtues of a white man to take a job over somebody else. I'm like, listen, there are so many people who qualify to do this shit. But having said all that, Lee Pace has a very wonderful, ineffable quality to him that I think would be put to very good use in a very well-written rom-com. And if Hollywood will not provide, bitch, I'm ready to write it, because I'm dying to put him together with, I don't know, a 5'3" British Nigerian who, I don't know, maybe she's a What?
Boy.
Be the change you want to see in the world. I'm writing the change I want to see in the world.
Okay, yes.
Okay?
I'll allow it.
Thank
yes.
you and good day. Thank you. This is Thursday, kids. Join the winning team, Nicole. Come on. You better write yourself a rom-com with Lee Pace.
Oh my gosh, Lee Pace. Come see us and we can write you in a rom-com.
Thank you so much. We love Lee Pace.
Love him to pieces.
To pieces. There's so much to talk about with him. His height.
Yes.
The breadth of his shoulders.
Yes.
His eyebrows.
Yes.
His mouth, which I know is actually ungenerous because shout out to Caucasity, but
right.
It's not a bad mouth.
I just, okay, let me not say that.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Yes.
It's a family fucking podcast.
I just think that, I'm sure that he makes up for lack of...
You need to stop right there. That's what you need to do. You need to stop. In the name of love, before you break my heart.
But also, we didn't talk about this, but he's from Oklahoma and was raised in Texas. So he's got, a certain kind of Western, Southern thing happening.
He's a spicy kind of flower.
Yeah, he's still flour.
No, for sure.
And he's not spicy white.
No.
But,
that's why I called it specifically a spicy flour.
Yeah.
It's still a good base.
Yeah.
You can add it to a stew.
If he were to get real relaxed and comfortable, I would hear a twang, and I want to hear that twang.
That sounds so disgusting. I want to hear that twang, she said, leaning into the mic, grinning. Anyway, to that end, we have written 2 drabbles. I imagine they're different because, guys, we say this every time and we mean it. We literally do not see each other's drabbles before. So the reactions you hear are very, very much genuine. Because, and ask Nicole, sometimes she's telling me a story and even in the middle of the story, that's not a drabble. I go, bitch. And it's from a place of deep love. I want to reach across and shake her. But because she's shaken me. So this week's Travels about Lee Pace, I anticipate, because Nicole has had this evil little smile all day.
No.
Stop. I don't know what it means, but I feel like I'm in for it. And I'm...
No.
Shut
See,
up.
you're hyping it up and then it's going to be bad.
No. Listen, you hyped yourself up in previous episodes. I'm not saying anything that people do not know. Do you want to go first or shall I?
I can go first. It's fine.
You're going to go first?
Yes.
That's what he said. All right, go.
Thank God for sunglasses. The man the concierge called Mr. Pace can't see me watching him as he swims laps in the pool outside of our respective casitas.
You disgusting bitch.
I'm here with someone and so is he, but I feel hypnotized watching his lean body repeatedly break through the water with barely a sound. It's almost dinner time. Everyone else seems to have gone inside to clean off the day, so he has the pool to himself, and I'm glad. I get to watch him in peace. A piece that fell apart when he swam to the shallow end and stood to leave, water trailing from his body as if fainting from the loss of him. The pool tried to hold on to him, weighing down his trunks, giving me a flash of pale skin the sun had yet to touch.
What?
I couldn't help myself. I sat up straighter, any pretense of not watching him fading away. I could make out the freckles across his shoulders, the moles across his back.
Oh, God.
He hitched up his swim trunks in a careless way, then stretched his arms over his head, lengthening his body even more, and I took a breath. From inside my casita, my someone called my name. I spared the man named Mr. Pace one last glance before I went inside, ready to look for any moles I may have missed before today.
So... So when did you slip the knife into my rib cage? Because I'm ribbons, mate.
Oh, Bam.
What? This bitch is talking about stretching by the pool. The fucking trunks are way down and the water is not fuck off.
You know, I just have this vision of just watching him lean and wet.
Oh, do you know what? You're saying that your eyes are closed, and I know you're visualizing it, and I feel like I've been let into a very private room, and I'm just looking for a way out, mate. Just let me out.
Lee Pace. Boy, howdy.
Oh God. All right.
I like him.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
It was not apparent. So good on you for being so coy about that.
Thank you. I hide it well.
Jesus. All right. Well, I don't want to continue.
No,
shut up.
No, we need to.
No. What I'm gonna do is
do me like this.
No, that's exactly how I'm doing you. All right. You come in here, you weave a fucking fantastical tale about torsos and lean, whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah.
So no, okay. Let's not pretend like you didn't know you were stabbing someone with that story. And she's like, oh, what do you mean this knife? It's nothing. It's a prop knife. Shut up. Anyway.
Well, Bim, what do you have for us today?
Well, I don't have Lee Pace in a fucking swimming pool. Jeez. Oh man, I've got to rethink everything about my life. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Instead, I didn't go there because my mind so rarely goes there anyway. But I swear I'm thinking about that right now. I can't read the words I've written down. I'm just thinking about Lee Pace by the edge of a pool. The man they call Mr. Pace, she said. Fuck. All right. Let me just read something. It's wow. Hang on, I gotta
get some.
I'm genuinely flummoxed. I don't know what to do. I can't stop thinking about Lee Pace by a pool. Wow. So here's my drabble. I hope you like it. All right. Is this your first time here? The waitress asks, exhaustion mired in the grooves of her face. Lee looks down at me, tongue firmly in cheek. It is most definitely not our first time, he tells her, smiling widely. She rolls her eyes, but I can see the edges of a small smile right beneath the surface. So then you know how it works, she says. But her voice sounds a little less tired this time. We do, Lee confirms. We came here for our first date, he continues, taking my hand and enfolding it in his much larger one. It wasn't a date, I retort, almost out of habit at this point, honed over the 6 years since we first met. It was an impromptu meeting, and this was the only place that had a table available. Best meeting of my life, he says, and the sincerity of his equally practiced line is impossible to ignore, because I made you fall in love with me. On the return journey of my extravagant eye roll, I catch the waitress's look. She's enamored, despite herself, I can tell. I stare at him, this man that I have loved with my mind, my body, and my soul for so long, and he watches me watch him, eyebrows arched, lips pursed thoughtfully. He dips his chin first and looks at the menu. Order something, I say. You know what I like.
Bam! Got a little saucy there.
Okay. Just some spicy mayo, just a little cinnamon sprinkle.
Oh my God, you call Lee Pace cinnamon sprinkle. I love it. Yeah, okay, I see you.
Thank you.
Mind, body, and soul.
I appreciate being seen. Thank you.
And then you're like, you know what I like.
Well,
okay.
He does know what I like.
Okay, I see you.
I told him what I like. Yeah, I did. We've gazed into the abyss of each other. We've seen some shit, haven't we?
We've got some secrets.
I cannot wait to be a 70-year-old with you, Nicole.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be amazing.
It is. We're gonna cackle about, that time we wrote a story about Lee Pace. Luckily, though, you don't have to wait until we're 70 to take part in this little conversation we're having. We're gonna put up these drabbles on our Twitter, and you, dear lovely Thirst Bucket listeners, you can choose which of the Lee Pace stories you liked. Perhaps you want to see Lee dripping outside. Put your tongue away. Your tongue just touched the mic. Perhaps you want to see Lee Pace dripping wet on the side of a pool, or maybe you want to see him in some kind of unnamed chain restaurant where he and I had our first date 6 years ago. It's up to you. We say this every week and we mean it every week. It doesn't matter how you vote as long as you do, because we're all winners here.
All winners.
That's it. Fanfic Wars is not even really a war. It's like it's a fanfic kind of I love and support you marathon.
Yeah.
So join us, love us, support us by voting on our Twitter, which is at Thirst Aid Kit.
Thirst Aid Kit is produced by us, Nicole Perkins and Bim Adewunmi, Julia Furlan, and TK Duteste. Our music is by Tanya Morgan.
You can follow the show on Twitter at Thirst Aid Kit, and we're at TN Whiskey Woman, that's TN Whiskey with an E Woman, and Bimadew, BIMADEW. Plus, we are on Tumblr at thirstaidkitpodcast.tumblr.com. Please come and thirst with us over there.
For our Thirst Sommelier service, call and leave a brief message on 765-884-4778. That's 765-8-THIRST. Non-U.S. listeners can send us a short voice note via email.
Please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and also rate the show. It helps other people discover Thirst Aid Kit because, believe it or not, there are people who still don't know about it. And just a pointer, we really like when you leave us 5 stars.
If you live tweet your listen, please use the hashtag TACPOD, that's TAKPOD, and you can send us emails of love and affection, your dying crushes, I don't know, at thirstaidkit@buzzfeed.com.
Okay, guys, so that was it for this week, but we're going to be back next week and we have even more thirstiness to accomplish. So in the meantime, please stay hydrated and we will see you next week.
Bye.
He is very, very talented. And on top of all of that, the package that he comes in is really something special. And I, for one, am grateful that he exists and makes work and that I get to enjoy that work. Because, listen, sometimes you're sat in your house and you're like, you know what this moment needs? I need a gif of a tall man playing an ancient elf, throwing his cape to the ground. And then Lee Pace walks in and says, here, hold my beer. And then he gives it to me. And I just appreciate that so, so much because, wow, what a gift.